I want to talk today about one main thing, one major thing, for the most part. And that one main major thing is World War. It's World War. Let's talk about World War. Let's talk about what happens if World War III starts. Just as a hypothetical, let's say that World War III starts and it's between, well, us and Russia. I mean, it's certainly far-fetched, of course. In July of 2024, I mean, who could imagine anything like that could happen now? With the president in charge now, who's completely with it mentally, and completely respected on the world stage, and feared, of course. Who could think of anything like that? So let's just dream for a moment. What if it happens? What if it happens? Well, what would actually create a legit world war that destroys everything is if the nukes start to fly. And what they believe is that it wouldn't start with ICBMs. It wouldn't start with the long-range intercontinental ballistic missiles that are carrying like high-yield, heavy weapons, heavy nuclear weapons. The ones that make like the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs like little baby bombs, look like little tiny baby bombs. It wouldn't start with that. It would start with like little nukes, battlefield nukes, as they call them. Low-yield weapons. Weapons that certainly pack a punch, but that can't like level like 3/4 of a country. All right, that type of thing. The problem is, once they start to go in a war game scenario, in the war game scenarios that the Pentagon has looked into, they found that like 99% plus of the times when low yield nuclear weapons, aka battlefield nukes, are used, in over 99% of the times when that happens, if that were to happen, it will escalate into full-out thermonuclear war very, very quickly. So, the good news is that in a thermonuclear war, it's over really fast. Really fast. None of this 4 or 5 year thing, like in World War I or World War II. No, none of that. It's over in like 72 minutes. And everything's gone. No more fighting. Everything's just gone. And then the world gets cold for like a decade. And billions of people die. But it's over fast. There's a saying that says, somebody said once something like, I'm gonna botch this, but they said something like, I don't know how World War III ends, but I know that World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. Because it'll send us back thousands of years. I mean, the people that survive it. Because it'll take out multiple billions of people. And it'll happen so fast. And we're right on the edge of that. So you need to start to think, when it comes to the election that's coming up, about some things. You could argue this is the most important election in world history. I actually think it is, personally. I really do think it is. Because on one hand, you've got a president that has got us in to two major, all right, not us indirectly, but through proxy, through two major wars. The situation in Israel and Gaza, and the situation in Russia and Ukraine. The situation in Russia and Ukraine is heating up and it's getting real hot, like fast. It's still a proxy war, technically. But it's like, those lines are getting blurred. Because now we're authorizing Ukraine to take our weapons and shoot them into Russia, rather than just use them as defensive weapons. You can think what you will of Russia or Putin. I'm no fan of the man. I'm not. But understand something. Nobody wants us to be in a hot war with Russia for any reason. For virtually any reason, folks. Because then everything ends. Like I said, in the war game scenarios, there's a 99% plus chance that ICBMs fly. Because people panic and they miscalculate. They think they're going to contain it into like a limited use, low yield nuclear scenario. But it doesn't end that way. In, like I said, over 99% of the scenarios that they've researched. And we're like right on the brink of this thing. So, why I'm speaking about this is just understand something. You might completely despise Donald Trump. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I'm not a fan of everything he's ever said. I'm going to vote for the man in November, but I'm certainly not a fan of everything he's ever said or done. But in this one election, in this one instance, try to put your hatred of the man aside if you have hatred of him. Like if you're an independent or a rational Democrat, and just think about where we're at as a world, not even as a country at this point. I'm not even talking about the southern border, the inflation, or the craziness with like social things that are going on. I'm not talking about any of that right now. I'm just talking about the prospect of world war looming over the world. Trump has said, now it remains to be seen whether he'll be able to pull this off or not. I think he can. But he has said publicly that he will shut down that war between Russia and the Ukraine very quickly. Biden wants no parts of that. He wants to go on and on and on, baby. Take it right to Putin's doorstep. The man who has more nuclear weapons than we even have. And understand, there's no real game plan or end in sight. What's the actual outcome? What do we want? What do we want? To destroy Moscow? Take Putin out? Like, what's the actual, like, why won't they tell us what the actual plan of action is? It's to just make Ukraine win. What does that mean? To completely defeat, utterly, Russia proper, the biggest country in the world? What does it mean? Or does it mean just keep fighting and fighting and fighting till everybody's heads get so gassed up that they start to make real crazy decisions? Like, it's all right. We'll scare them with this real low yield nuke. That'll put them in place. That'll teach them. But then the other side says, you gonna try it? We'll try it back. And then we throw another one back. They send another one back. Before you know, people are panicked because they know the other one's thinking they're gonna push the buttons. They're gonna send the big ones out. They're gonna send the big ones out. We gotta beat them to it. We gotta beat them to the punch. Before you know it, everything's over. But like I said, it's all good. It only takes 72 minutes. You gotta endure for 72 minutes, and it's all done. So please, as we're going into this election season, try to think about these things. Trump didn't get us into these wars. They didn't happen under his watch. And he has said publicly that he intends to end them. To end them, to bring them to an end. To cool the temperature of the world down, which we need very badly. So please, all the mean stuff he said, all the mean tweets, all the things that you hate about him or whatever, try to just rationally make a decision of, are we better off as a country and as a world now with these 3.5 years under Biden, or were we better at the end of Trump's presidency? And make a decision based on that and on going forward where they each stand on this Russia thing, because this Russia thing, folks, could turn into real bad news. Like the worst news, basically, that we could understand. And I'll end this with this. As you can see, I have a faith shirt with a cross on it and a cross on my neck. We are like in the craziest of times that I've ever seen in my life, at least. And I would recommend to everybody who is going through this crazy time with me to have a come to Jesus moment, literally. I'll tell you this, you know what? If you start to believe in God, in Christ, all this nuttiness, all this crazy stuff that's going on in the world, it'll still affect you. You'll still think about it, but it won't like bombard your mind where you're like literally having panic attacks over this stuff. He can give you that peace. He can give you that peace. Seek him out. I don't think I'd be alive on this world, in this world right now in general. I think I'd be a dead man had it not been for Christ. For a multitude of reasons. So I recommend him to anybody. You can call me corny, you can call me whatever you want to call me. I really do not care. I've been through the mill. And I can tell you, peace-wise, peace in your soul and your spirit, you can get through him. And you will not get that in any other way. I assure you of that. So you think about these things. And have a nice day. Take care.